Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar with ShopMonkey on technology and small business. My name is Amanda Harmoning. I am an admin assistant here at AERA, and I will be helping moderate today's event with my colleague, Rob Monroe.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, Rob Monroe here. I look after membership and technical development over at AERA. And today we're going to, we've got a really good presentation on technology and small business. Another thing that we've got is our Engine Rebuilders Educational Foundation. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is that we've got over $25,000 that we give to scholarships and grants every year. So if you're a member of AERA, maybe you've got a machinist that's looking to, well, for example, let's say a welding course or something to do with engine building. As a member, you can take advantage of those scholarships and grants and use that money. So we've even got our Bill McKnight Scholarship. It's a $2,500 grant, and that's available too. And if you want more information about that, just go out to our website, aera.org, and you'll see the EREF tab there. And all right, well, let's bring on both Brett and Chris, and Brett Kinsfather and Chris Sanders. Brett is the Business Development Manager for ShopMonkey, and Chris is the owner of Florida Automotive Performance and Machine Shop. So again, if any of you have any questions for either of these two gentlemen, put them in that questions box, and we'll make sure to get those answered at the end. So looking forward to today's presentation. Chris, he's got on-shop experience. You can see Chris in the background there. He's literally working at his shop as we speak, and we appreciate his time. And what I'll do is I'll turn things over to Brett. So how you guys doing today? How's it going?
Doing good. Doing great, Rob.
Good.
So thank you, everyone, for your time today, and thank you to Chris for joining us. As you can see by the title here, this today is all about technology and small business. For ShopMonkey, there's one thing that we're passionate about. If what our mission is really all about helping every shop thrive, and that can happen in a variety of ways. Something that's really close to us is technology. Now that can present itself in a bunch of different ways and uses. And so what I'd like to use this time today is talk about the variety of ways that someone kind of makes that determination, how they go about researching, and how they ultimately apply technology, no matter what it is, in a small business environment. What better way to do that than with a fellow AERA member, in this case, Chris Sanders from Florida Automotive Performance and Machine Shop. So, sorry, all right, there we go. So, me being the guy that I am, I always want to put together a quick agenda. I'm going to keep it simple, keep it clean. I just want to touch upon some expectations for today, and then do a quick and brief introduction about myself and Chris, so you know who these people are. We'll go ahead and run through our interview, finish up with some Q&A. So, that being said, expectations. When I think about things that I hold off on or procrastinate about or don't do, even though I know I should, these are the three things that come to mind. I don't know where to start. I'm not quite sure how to go about my own research, and I might not fully understand why I need to make a change or invest in technology or invest in whatever it is. And so these are the three fundamental things that I hope everybody can walk away with today to help them get started in maybe thinking of addressing some questions or concerns that you might have. Again, talking about technology and small business in the broad scheme of things. So just a quick mention about myself. My background, I've been in the automotive aftermarket here for 22 years now. And as a kid, I would hang out in shops around the Chicagoland area. Whoever would let me see what type of things that they're working on. But I never really had that engineering mind or ability. I wasn't that smart, so I went the business route and ended up going to work for some manufacturers. Started my career with K&N Air Filters, spent many years with them, and then eventually moved on into distribution. Finished out my distribution career as the VP of Sales and Marketing for Motivicity before they ended up selling, but working with great engine internal brands like Scat and SuperTech, things like that. I handle business development for ShopMonkey in business services. So just again, a little bit about myself. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. Now let's really get to know our speaker a little bit. Chris Sanders, if you don't mind, would you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your business?
I have a local automotive repair and machine shop, which for my area is an oddity because they're normally split into two different businesses. But I come from a family of mechanics and machinists, and I just recall my father doing most of the work himself. So I got 27 years as a automotive technician and about 12 years as a machinist, and it has boded well for me. I just always had the desire to be able to work from the crankshaft to the taillights without giving it up to someone else. So
awesome. Very cool, very cool. And if anybody wants to see more about what Chris and his shop are doing, please check them out on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You're kind of covering it all, if I'm correct.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. So let's now dive into the interview, and there's a number of topics that I want to cover. So Chris, if you don't mind, I'd really like to start with knowing when to upgrade your tech. So thinking about your own business, can you talk a little bit about any challenges that you faced that were maybe started out small but became more obvious or maybe more painful before you said, all right, I gotta get into social media, or I need to add this technology to my shop, whatever it might be. Can you talk a little bit about that in your journey?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all of it. I mean, stuff is old for a reason. I mean, I started off, I mean, literally from my garage, you know, where people asking for handwritten receipts and just knowing that I going towards the path of legitimacy was definitely the route to go. Like handwriting receipts and trying to keep files just was next to impossible over the years. Especially like with you know, I knew that if my business was to succeed, it would have to be in the office. I'm a mechanic, not an office person. So any kind of scheduling software or reminders or anything that would have labor times were available worked for me. Scanners, you know, we're well past the era of just trying to guess what's wrong with a car other than like hard mechanical damage. You know, it's no longer like the good old days where my dad would be like, oh, you know, sounds like it's out of time, and just grab the distributor and give it a spin, and you know, everything seemed to be okay. Now it's, you know, thousands of dollars in, you know, diagnostic equipment. You know, saving my hands and my elbows and my back by moving to electric over, you know, pneumatic tools over time.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like there's a lot of self-discovery that you went through. You just kind of knew these things as you progressed in your business. Any feedback from maybe your team or your employees where maybe you heard something a little too often when you said, okay, fine, I'm going to do this?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, you know, once again, it was, you know, helping them become efficient. You know, not assuming that every technician you buy would have or would hire would have, you know, all the same equipment. So making sure that I had shop available equipment and enough of it for them to go around. Like say torque wrenches, I don't expect a you know, a technician to necessarily have something of that nature, or at least, you know, regularly calibrated or things of that like that. So you know, it's like them trying to hunt for like shop times or let's say like instructions, I guess you would say, to like assembly, disassembly characteristics of engines. So yeah, listening to things that they would like to have, like, you know, rubber gloves or you know, a certain cleaner over the next one.
Yeah.
So shop input definitely helped.
Well, okay, so that's interesting, and there's two questions that come to mind. The first, let me start with this. You mentioned a wide variety of tech that you've had to apply, develop, buy for your business as it's grown, as you've brought on more people. How did you know what to prioritize?
Honestly, I didn't. You know, as a family-owned business, I mean, starting off small, it was like really hard to try and determine, what what would be the major, what would have the best result for my or bang for my buck.
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
overall value, bang for your buck, it sounds like a big deal.
yeah.
You also said something that I found interesting. You said as a mechanic and machinist, you believe that your business was going to be making one of the bigger challenges, if I heard you right, was that it was going to be critical for the office to operate and function properly. Now, this is something that really struck a tone with me because I have a very dear friend whose shop is no longer in business, but he was the same guy that let me come hang out at his shop and ride my bike over when I was 14 and 15 years old and get to see what he was doing. And he was that guy that was brilliant at what he did, which was behind the mill or designing something, but never the front office sort of things. So like when you moved from your garage to a building, I would think that might have been a time where you started having to ask yourself some of those questions.
Well, I mean, it's like I'm married, and I made sure not to have my wife work for me because I told her I was married to my business, and she would be eternally my mistress. So, I didn't want to bring any aggravation or any of that, undue stress home. But I mean, I hired friends at the beginning, and it wasn't necessarily the worst thing they ever did, but it probably wasn't the best. Having some level of divide is always nice. But upgrading individuals is just like upgrading equipment. It's like I mean, I got a warm body in the office first just to take down information, and then now, I need a part specialist that can help, craft builds for people and knows, the inner workings of an engine. So just I guess you'd say a standard secretary for this job field doesn't work. So I mean, if you can't find it, you have to craft it. Bring someone in that has some automotive knowledge or that was a technician that either no longer wants to turn a wrench or, for whatever reason, would like to be in an office. So, I mean, finding the people that are geared towards your business specifically was possibly one of the harder things that I found. And once again, I mean, it's hard if you're a single, or two-person shop, and then you need an office person, and you're like that. How much does that person have to make? And,
Yeah.
insurance, and I mean, it seems overwhelming, but I mean, the one thing I learned was that person should be able to produce their own income. So as
Yeah.
long as you keep that in mind, you should be able to stay, well in the office area. Have them make sure that they keep track of hours, which is like, once again, I mean, I have Shop Monkey and it allows me to keep all the statistics of how, each technician is performing at their jobs on a daily. And that was a big help, was just being able to, going from, I think I had a good day to being in black and white right in front of you.
Yeah.
So,
well, okay, so you're bringing up some really good points, and that leads me into my next topic, if you don't mind, which is questions to ask when researching. And so you talk about you mentioned from the people process, making sure that somebody can pay for themselves and ideally ultimately generate revenue on top of that for the business. Did you take that same or a similar approach when it comes to tech and equipment, whether it be a new laptop computer or a software or a scan tool or something like that? And we, let's start there, because I'm also curious, where were you going for that information?
I mean, Yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, it's like, I mean, if you were in the business, or usually even when you're starting the business, you've been around, like-minded individuals or people that travel in the same circle. So, I mean, you can usually, I mean, ask your peers, I mean, searching forums, general reviews of equipment, price points versus what they offer. I mean, it's like if you don't work on European cars, you don't need to buy a scanner that has a whole European package on it for X amount of dollars. Or I wouldn't recommend doing it just in the guides of I hope eventually I will have someone that can use it.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, I mean, time is once again money. So I mean, it's like if you have a old Snap-on brick and it takes 4 days for it to boot up and tell you that the O2 sensor is wrong, where you can drop in an Altel or whatever and get almost immediate response. I mean, that helps your technician, and at the end, it helps your price point.
Yeah.
If they're keep them in and out. You don't want them hanging out in the car too long, getting married to it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's a good point, or several good points. One thing that I've been wanting to ask you, because, and I'm asking you because I've made this mistake. I hate to say this, but certainly more than once,
Yeah,
where I heard from friends or heard from my circle, oh, this is what you want. And my research then was trying to convince myself why all the other alternatives were what I did not want, because I'd already made my mind up. Did you ever find yourself in a situation like that where maybe your approach to the research was backwards? Because I sure have.
yeah. I mean, it's like, I mean, you would like to be able to be like, oh, it's like they all say that this wonderful product, is the one for you. Like, I mean, I had people come in like, ah, Mitchell's is great, or All Data is great, or and I mean, it's all. I mean, they are all great. I mean, they all have their own particular strong points.
Sure.
But I mean, it's like a lot of them come with free trials, and I mean, you sort of have to just feel it out for yourself. I mean, I tried. I would take all my friends' advice, but none of my friends are like me. I mean, and it's like that is why I mean, I actually like to have them is for their difference in opinion. I wouldn't recommend to just follow suit always, but know that everyone else is doing the R&D for you. So it's like just trying to forge your own path and having no one to turn to or any of that might also slow you down in the same manner.
Yeah.
So I mean, just I would try and test products if possible, see if they have I mean, like YouTube, I mean, videos of it functionally working in front of you. If you don't actually have a person, or if you're looking for a program from a friend in another shop, be like, try and spare some time and sit down and run through it with them. And I mean, realistically, like sell me on it. Show me why it's so good. Like what is, made it a necessity over any other product per se, or what was the reasons that you liked it other than it was like, oh, it just didn't look good, or I couldn't figure it out, because that's potentially on the person, not necessarily on the product. Like, it might have not been user friendly for that individual.
Right. Oh, very good. So now, are you in a location where you have some shops, other shops that could be helpful in that way physically near you, or is this something that you kind of do online, whether it be in a community like an online community, or is it more in person that you find yourself doing that?
I mean, I'm on forums like Facebook forums as well and stuff like that between other machinists and things of that nature. But I mean, I am in the heart of an industrial complex, so I mean, I've been in this location for 10 years.
Okay.
So I mean, I've learned and got to know everyone around, so I have the ability to outsource for information. Because I mean, the sad thing is when you own a shop, you always want like this high-end technician that is damn near identical to you, and they happen to own another shop. It's I mean, yeah. So I mean, you know, it's very rare that you can turn to, you know, unless you have like a really good senior technician or something like that and be like, hey, what do you think? So to be able to call other, you know, top tier technicians or business owners that have that experience is very helpful. You know, especially if you're not necessarily, you know, internet savvy per
Yeah.
se. I mean,
Is there, before we move on to the next topic, have there been any instances where when you look back, you maybe wish you would have taken a little bit of a different approach, or yeah, I'll leave it at that rather than complicating the question
yeah,
anymore.
almost everything. I mean, there's hindsight is totally 2020. I mean, I mean, you know, I started out with like 3 business partners and a dream, and like within 30 days, I was by myself with a shop. So I was like, because I mean, at that point, I was the only one that was willing to be like, I don't need a paycheck to try and survive. I will figure it out.
Sounds like a great memoir title.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely been a motto. Is you know, it's like, you know, you just got to figure it out. There is no real other option. I mean, this is your one time around, so you know, it's like operating without a net at the beginning, and you know, different machinery purchases would have been in plan. I mean, it's like I bought a piece of machinery, and it was pretty much useless to me for 6 years, because I just didn't have the education base to use it at that time. And I mean, now 10 plus years in, I would like the same machine just with a better quality. But I mean, that would have been several $1,000s that could have been placed somewhere else in the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
So
that goes
yeah,
back to something you said earlier, which was, you know, making sure you're buying something that you can actually use within a reasonable period of time, as opposed to something you'd like to have. That's an
yeah,
interesting. Okay,
yeah.
very. So you've done the research. You've identified, you know, hey, I need to do this. You've done some research, and now you having employees, there's a little bit of a buy-in process. And not that they have to sign off on your decisions, but they got to use the technology, the tools, the equipment, whatever it might be. So can you talk a little bit about that, like with that you've just learned, whether it be observing other people or, you know, your own school of hard knocks with that, as far as any hurdles that you've had to overcome in gaining buy-in?
Yeah. I mean, a hard lesson learned is, I mean, if you didn't physically see it, it didn't exist. Just assuming or believing that, you know, I got a technician that is probably, you know, 15 years my senior, and he's not a big fan of, say, like timing tools. Like, you know, being like, I bought this $600 kit, and it'll be like, I've done this for 30 years this way. And I mean, it's worked every time for him, but I always let him know that you were taking that risk on yourself, because if you use the tool and something happens, it's easier to determine that it's not necessarily your technician's issue. It could be a flaw. Like, I've bought timing tools that are incorrectly machined and had to buy another one, and that one would say work. But yeah, just learning, you know, to trust in your technicians as well.
So it also sounds like you've taken, and you know, your pushback might be adding maybe a little bit more personal accountability on someone that's not using the tech.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because I mean, once again, it's, I mean, like for me, like a lot of my machines are manual, and for me to want to hire a machinist that knows the manual machines I do, they would most likely be older than me. And I mean, a lot of them are in their own way. Where like I have an apprentice right now, and they'll take it at pretty much face value, and then he has like CNC quality education to go with it. So with the growth of the business, it won't be so hard to transition this technician into the newer tech because he's inclined for it, where some people are like, well, this has worked for X amount, but I'm trying to stay competitive. I mean, in a few years, I might be making electric motors instead of repairing gas engines.
Right. Well, you're bringing up a good point, because no matter, I mean, I can talk to anybody I'm just going to use a general umbrella of automotive, whether it be repair, machining, aftermarket, whatever. And one of the universal truths that seems to exist today is finding good help. And there being a massive shortage. When you think about buy-in, when you think about research, when you think about the things we've been talking about, how much do you take into consideration, or how much do you think about future employees as opposed to existing ones that you have? Like, can that help attract good people to your business, or are you focused more on kind of like what the immediate need is?
No, I mean, it's like, I mean, most definitely that, I mean, once again, like owning a business, I mean, nevertheless, are you wooing customers to, for whatever you might specialize in? Why would they want to come to you? It was one of the reasons why I even opened a shop. I mean, it's like you have a certain amount of leeway when you own your own structure. People aren't trying to beat you down as hard as they would in your, say, garage. So that's the same with a technician. I mean, if you're trying to entice them, I mean, I have one of the cleaner shops, you would say, in my area. It's, I get remarks about it quite frequently. And it was just one of those things that I didn't like people walking on dirt or spitting on my floor, or, it's like I wanted that curb appeal. And then technology is definitely that. I mean, it's like you can't hire a BMW technician if you don't have, a appropriate scanner for them to work on it, or the tools for them to, say, do the specialty jobs. You can't necessarily rely on your technician to have some of those specialty tools. You have to be willing to purchase them if you want that job. You have to make sure that that you do the research before you take the job, to know that you have all the appropriate equipment and personnel to even handle it. But yeah, it's definitely.
The thing is, if I may, one of the points I'm hearing is that, when you're speccing out work, you're not just thinking about kind of like, you're thinking about what else is going to be necessary in order to take on that job, and whether or not that job is worth it if what you have to invest in can be used later.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
a one-off deal, and then having equipment or technology that's just sitting around not getting used.
no, I mean, it's like I did a Volkswagen CC cylinder head timing when they first came out, bought the kit, and was like, man, I never want to do this one again. So it's like, I mean, I got like $700 in tools just chilling in a drawer that I hope I never have to touch. But yeah, it's like, I mean, hiring technicians nowadays is definitely different. I mean, I remember coming up and it being like a boys club where, you had to pretty much buy your way in. Like, I mean, your toolbox was almost like a rank, as when you would go into a shop, especially if it was equipped. I mean, it's like if you came in with a Snap-on Ultimate empty, they're going to laugh at you. You're not going to get work. I mean, I've seen plenty of people come in with 5-gallon buckets to the top with some just random stuff and work miracles. So it's hard. I mean, it's definitely not, I wouldn't judge your book by its cover, but you could definitely tell the people that invested into themselves as technicians, tried to move up. I mean, it's like, I mean, if I've been in it 30 years and they're still using, their grandpa's screwdriver that barely has a tip, that person does not seem to want to stay with the times.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find people that are realistically just into what they do. that generally have a like of their, their job and their craft. They see it more than just a 9 to 5.
Well, now that's a great point, and I want to drill down on this a little bit. Have you found that to also hold true for maybe the office environment? The stuff that you don't want to handle. Let's just kind of keep talking about people there. In the expectations of, are you looking for them to be more aligned with the output of the business, or the interest in operations and taking care of things and communicating with customers, or is it more of a mix of both?
It's more of both. I mean, it's like, everyone that's currently here is an avid automotive fan. I mean, we all have some type of performance vehicle. It's like, my secretary has FDR7s and 2JZs and Skylines. So, I drive the Civics, but I'll definitely take them all down. But yeah, no, it's making sure that they can communicate with the customer in the manner that the customer can understand. Having, like, making sure that their tool set in the office is different than out in the shop. Like, their tool set is the know part familiarity to be able to steer a customer in a direction that the customer wants and might not know they want. I mean, it's like there's a lot of customers come in and they'll be like, my friend and someone said, and they're or they'll want to purchase their own parts without doing, like, technically all of the research. So we offer services to make sure that all the components that they purchase are correct before we get them. Because we do a lot of bring in a vehicle, remove its engine. I send the vehicle back to the customer's residence. We build the engine and then arrange a time to bring it back in. And at that point, we can go in and have a build plan. Because right now, for all of us, I assume that the supply chain is broken. So a lot of things are taking exponentially longer than they used to. But back to having, like, the office aspect of it is yeah, just making sure that everyone is relatively just happy with that they're getting what they want. What I'm saying? It's like, why are they my employee? It's like, why do they enjoy working here? It's like, I don't want anyone to wake up and be like, ugh, I got to go to this place. Because it's like, this is a family. I don't have a high turnover rate.
Right.
A lot of my technicians have been here for over 5 or 6 years, and it's like, I know them on a personal level. I know what to expect from them. They know what I expect from them to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like, I also, for them, spend a lot of nights here late after hours working on personal projects of their own to make sure that, it's like, my secretary per se can't work on his engine block through business hours. So I will, spare time in my evenings to make sure that they also get to participate in the amenities of this business.
So thinking about it certainly sounds like a balance when it comes to gaining that team buy-in, and I'm also, I don't want to be presumptuous here, but what does the communication look like when you're doing research? When do you bring that up to your team, your staff, whether it be that individual or individuals handling the front office, or those individuals in the back? When do you start including them in on that conversation or that decision-making process?
For us, what's funny is, like, my machine room is actually in between the shop and the office, so I can literally hear them out of one ear, out of both sides. So it's more not of like literally asking them, but as an owner, it's like sort of just listening to the whispers on the wind, like, what complaints are they having or noticing that, it's like, what becomes, what problem job comes in, and is there a remedy to make that not such a such a scenario or situation, or a way to avoid it to make their life easier? Or is there a product that can be purchased that will aid in their ability? I mean,
from everything that you've said, I think that's probably the most timeless thing. It's really, as basic as it is, it's really hard to do. And that's having such a good relationship with your team where you already know what their expectations are.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's making sure that, like in a dealership, you have to fight for a service writer to give you jobs. And here I can give jobs that I believe that are tailored to the individual. This is a family business, so it's like, you have to treat it like family and become intimate with your employees. Where, like, when I worked into a dealership for a short time, it was more political, and there was already people, that were already set in stone when you went in there. And I mean, it almost couldn't matter how hard you worked at, you were easily expendable. Because there's just a divide there. So it's like, I mean, even as an employee, picking what environment you want to be in. If you want to, if you're just the kind of guy that wants to grab your ticket and go to your box and not know anyone in your shop, I mean, I met them people, they exist. And there's some people that want to be more involved. There's also setting your own personal divides. A line in the sand per se, what they know that they can come and ask you for, either be an equipment or a loan. Because I mean, nothing is set in stone. I mean, there's plenty of vehicles that I'll open up and it will be catastrophic engine failure, and my technician, those 20 hours might not be his next 20 hours. So have to find something to fill that spot to make sure that their pay doesn't suffer. Our workflow doesn't suffer. Scheduling is possibly one of the hardest things to do in this business because everyone else is skilled in their craft, but almost every job has an unknown variable, down to just a broken bolt.
Right. Absolutely. No, that's a very good point. And so, I mean, culture is kind of what I'm hearing, and you're bringing up something really important about scheduling and stuff like that. I'm assuming over time that your team has gotten better at scheduling, or they've been able to develop incremental improvements, whatever it might be, whatever aspect of the business. And one of the things that I've seen over and over again is technology. Again, that can be a lot of things, but technology helping businesses be a bit more efficient, be a bit more open up communication a little bit, things like that. Can you talk about some of the benefits that your business has experienced with by implementing technology? Again, from tools to office equipment, whatever it might be.
Oh, well, yeah. No, I mean, it's like, obviously we're here because we're talking about Shop Monkey as well. That was definitely I would say a come up. No longer having to just save photos on my cell phone and remember when a customer shows up, be like, hey, look at this.
Right.
We have the ability to send photos via text message, having a private allocated phone number that is stored to the ticket itself. So if they text back on that, it immediately brings back that ticket.
Reduce some of those phone calls.
Huh?
Reduce some of the Sunday night phone calls that you might get.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, yeah, definitely. I used to have my personal number as the shop line for like 15 years, and people have no clue. They call you at all hours. But yeah, once again gives you that level of divide. It lets you to feel like you have once again your own personal life and a business. But yeah, just being able to communicate through Shop Monkey with technicians, or to send the tech a reminder if you feel that they're just going off in a car and you're like, yo, man, did you look through your list of, you know, your checklist of things that need to be done? It also helps them, you know, ensure that the job is complete.
Yeah.
You know, that they didn't forget any steps. And then the ability to put in our own punch lists for, like, say, machining. So I can, like, you know, write down thousandths removed on a cylinder head, how it was warped, images of how it was warped as I cut it on the mill. It's just,
Well, you're bringing up a lot of really good points, and believe me, I don't want to stop you talking about Shop Monkey, but also something that you've been doing is you've had a growing audience with social media as well, and I would put that under the technology umbrella for small business.
oh yeah.
What has that done for your business, as far as has it generated new inquiries? Has it built your brand up? Has it helped with people getting to see what's going on? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was starting a pretty, like, unique build on my vehicle, and I thought, you know, why not see how social media went? It's not necessarily, like, I mean, I guess you say in my demographic, a few years younger, definitely get on it more than I do. But it was nice to be able to talk to people globally. That was the first thing that I really noticed was, you know, it was no longer just sort of, you know, marketed around the people that in my area. You know, I was able to talk to people in California and in China and in Russia and in Japan and, you know, Korea, you name it. You know, avid car fans, meeting people that were, you know, working on similar items. So it helped, once again, for, like, research, having a different point to, well, nevertheless, just a different point of contact plus a different perspective, say from, you know, from the global market.
Mm-hmm. No,
So,
awesome. Yeah, excellent, great. So I know that we're coming up on time here, so why don't we go ahead and take these last few minutes, because we kind of talked about what might cause you to start looking for tech, or what might interest you. We talked about the buy-in. We talked about a number of different, why you might be going after that. Rob, are there any questions that we can address from the audience at all?
Sure. Yeah. No, there are some questions coming in. I just want to say, guys, I mean, that was a great presentation. You covered a lot of topics that a lot of the shops that are definitely members of ours and that are listening today, these are all things that I mean, you're not alone, Chris. I mean, they're all, it's nice. This webinar has been a nice opportunity to see that, yes, I'm not the only one going through this. Someone else has gone through this and experienced this as well. So this is great to hear, and to listen to some of the things like you mentioned about, finding employees and keeping employees. That's the key. You've had really good employee retention, and I can see why. I mean, just listening to you and how you treat them and how you bring them in and treat them like family, like you said, that's a huge key. So well done, guys. Really well done. So in speaking about that, here's a question, and I'll let either one of you address this. This I think is more towards Chris, but what do you do with employees who refuse to change but are good at their job, especially in today's environment?
I mean, I have one. I mean, it's like, as I said, I have a gentleman that I would say is longer in the tooth, but his skill set's there. I mean, it's like, I mean, technology is great, but I mean, if you can't retain all the things that led up to the next generation and product and technology you're going to get, I mean, you're going to blunder. I mean, I got a guy that literally worked from points all the way through OBD2V. I mean, has a complete understanding of that scenario. If if there was technology that just, I mean, in his lifespan, he just doesn't want to learn, I can't necessarily fault him for that. I mean, he doesn't not have a place in our job field. It's just that he will not progress further. It's sort of like, I mean, once again, it's capping yourself out. But I would just tailor jobs to him, and I mean, I would probably end up hiring someone else or finding someone else in the building that was apt to accept, and a chance to learn something, an educational opportunity, I guess you'd say.
Okay, all right. Chris, has any of the technology or tools you've talked about helped in the hiring or retaining of any of these employees?
Yeah. All the tech, buying upgraded scanners and moving to computers and tablets over pens and paper and all that has just helped efficiency. It helps cost at the end of the day. I mean, I'm not necessarily in the most environmentally friendly business, but if I don't have to waste, sheets upon sheets of paper and buy a whole bunch of pens, it saves my pocket. Potentially there. But it all comes down to efficiency and ease. I'm just trying to make sure that everyone can flow through their day without any issue. You're not scrambling for a shop manual. It's like each technician has a work bay with their own computer, and it allows them to do their own personal research, and a tablet or their own personal phone if they opt, where I can send and receive information from them. So, it keeps the communication up without having to be physically standing right next to them or feeling like they're being parented all the way through their job. So,
Okay. Chris, again, this one's another one sort of directed towards you. What was the reason why you ended up purchasing a management software?
Because I wouldn't even begin to start with, to try and craft something myself. We looked around for a few different softwares, and realistically, I came to this one because of the communication level that I had between customer and between technician. It allowed, fluid communication. Being able to price out stuff, get immediate responses from my customers via text without having to have them call. I could just shoot them it. I could receive it at any point in the day and then tell the technician to proceed in clear conscience. It was just and then finding someone to do it, and then I would have to go physically after them to make sure it was done, to where now it is just allocated into a spreadsheet, and I can look and make sure that pretty much by eye shot if I'm winning or losing in my business.
Okay, all right. And then someone's asked, what was your first big technology purchase?
A new scanner was probably the biggest. I bought some machines that were manual, so I wouldn't say those were definitely new tech, but they were a healthy chunk to purchase. But the newest and most useful piece was buying an up-to-date scanner with an oscilloscope, multiple probes. It it was a hard. Once again, it was like being like, oh, several $1,000s. You just sort of got to jump with both feet in and make it work for you. You can't just rely on the machine to just go out and make it for you. You have to grow with your technology.
Okay, all right. Brett, one more, we got about one more question here, and this one's kind of directed to you, Brett, and they're asking, with ShopMonkey, is there a way to demo the product?
Yeah, absolutely. You can just visit our website, and it's really easy. You put in your email address and your name, and you'll have a free demo account. I believe it's 14 days that allows you to basically try it out in all different manners, as well as I would also recommend make use of our resources that we have. So we have a Shop Monkey Academy, and we also have a ton of, as Chris mentioned, videos that are on our website, along with documentation that walks you through step by step, basically how to do everything. So my point in saying all that is, the answer is yes. Someone can demo it, someone can try it out without the hassle of having to talk to a salesperson. You can chat in and ask your own questions so you can judge how effective we are when it comes to customer responses. And then, research and go through the materials to see if it's something that, is appropriate to where ultimately you can make a good business decision.
Okay. All right. No, for sure. Guys, I know there's still a couple questions that are in the queue, and what we'll do is we're going to forward those to you just to respect everybody's time today, just so that we could, I'm sure Chris probably, he's not making any money sitting here talking to us, so he's probably got it. But again, I appreciate it, guys. Yeah, and thank you for taking the time out of your day. This was very, very well done. You answered a lot of questions again that I think a lot of our members and those listening have just been sitting there, wondering if they're making the right decision. And again, when you can talk to somebody like Chris and have him explain just what he's gone through, this was very, very well done. So I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. It was, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity to just kind of bring the general topic up to people.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all choosing me. It's definitely an experience.
Thanks, guys. What I'll do now is I'll flip back over to Amanda here just for a minute, and we'll wind things up for you.
And then you can see our contact information is there. You can always reach the AERA staff by calling 815-526-7600, or you can reach out to Rob or myself directly. Our email addresses are there as well. So once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.